So this has been our first page, but let me show you something regarding component options and, well, reusage that we can use before we start creating our first page. Well, first of all, when you have components, as I've shown you, you can click on an item and you will have selected the child component. And via using the parent component navigation button, you can select the parent component. But you can also select multiple components by going to the object, by the component tree, so to say. And as you can see here, I've selected a column in my page right now. And if I select the other column, then you can see that I've selected my second column, and I can also do this for my third column. Now, it is of best practice to also keep an eye on naming these columns, because as you can see, I've selected column 1, column 2, column 3, but I do not really know what column I've actually selected. So what you can do is you can click on the column, you can go to the options, or you can double click on the column, and you can rename these items within the page builder. And this is so that you can have a better understanding of where you want to navigate to. So let me call this cart item 1 and say yes. Now this is cart item 1 that I've selected, and I can go to my component tree, and as you see, I've selected cart item 1, which is correct. And I can do this also for number 2, and I can do the same for number 3, so that I will always know where in my page I'm navigating to. So it's of best practice to really use different names. Also when you want to select something later on, or when you want to work with interactions. This is a really nifty feature which we will use later on. It is nice to know what kind of component you are selecting. It's also really important to know. So you now know that you can change some components. There are a lot of options that you can go over. And you can also rename them to make it easier to find them. But you can not only rename them to make it easy to find them, but you can also set it so that you can reuse them. So there's this one item that we are going to reuse throughout the application. And this item will be our app bar. This will be our menu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to customize my menu bar. And I'm going to turn it into a partial. This is a saved version of one or multiple components that you can reuse on multiple pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the app bar, and I'm going to give it a different name because I want it to be named menu instead of app bar. And I'm going to grab a logo that I want to use. So this will be my really cool rocket ship logo. And then you see, well, the logo is a little too big. So we can change the sizing of the logo in the logo option settings that you have beneath the logo. And you can also set items such as color or the positioning. Do you want it to be static, or do you want it to be sticky so that it will stick to the top of your page? Well, for now, let's also change the color. I would like a light grayish color. And well, the menu buttons, I want them to be a bit more light than they are right now, because they're very, very, very blue, and I want it to be a bit more light blue. So let's see how does this. Yeah, this looks way better. I prefer this. You can also set the different styles for the button, but we'll go over that as well later. So let me update the style for the button, and as you can see, we've got 2 buttons in the menu that have been updated. We've got the menu itself that has been updated. So now I can click on the bottom left. There is this option that says convert to partial. We can click on that button and say, well, give it a name such as header, because the menu is the head of our page, so this will be our header. And we can reuse this when we are creating our next page. So let's create it. To create our new page, our second page, click on the page option on the left, the pages option, and click on the plus sign in the top left. Here we are going to create another blank page, and we will call this our project page. And here I click on create page, and we will have our new blank page, which we will fill up with some items that will make it look like we have a project page. So I can start again by dragging a navigation bar on the page. However, as you can see, this does not have the menu logo. It's not as gray. It doesn't have the logo at all. So I'm going to remove this by clicking on the bin icon and deleting it. And then I'm going to the partial section of the components. You've got the components section to the top left, and to the right of it, you have a partial section. And as you can see, this holds the header that we have created. This header, if I drag it onto the page, as you can see, has our logo. It's called menu. It's light gray and has the buttons that we have set before. And it also has updated to 2 instances because it's now being used in the home page and in my project page. So let's fill up the rest of this project page. In my project page, I want to show a couple of things. I just generally want to show the title of my page, and I want to show an overview of projects that you can click on later on. This will be a very simple page. However, I'll show some options that you can use while we are building this page. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show the title of my page. I want to show it to the left center of my page. So I don't want to show it in the center. I don't want to show it on the left. I want to show it in the left center. So if I use one column and I drag in a title component to show the title of my page, let's call this the project page. And as you can see, it's completely on the left. And I can also say, well, I can put it in the center, but I want it to be in between. So we can do this by changing our column setup. So as you can see, we have our column, and this column uses a certain width. So the max width is 12, and the entirety of this column right now is 12. And it's always set to flexible, so it uses the maximum size of a column. But if I were to make this, if I'd make this 6, and I just make everything 6, so it will always use half of the page, then as you can see, since I have aligned this text in here to align to the center of the column, it is exactly placed to the middle of this column. So if I copy this, we can have 2 text fields next to each other in one row. I can remove the second one because I don't need a second column with text, of course. So right now I have placed my project or my project page name in the left center of the column. And you can use this to style your wireframe. You don't need to place it over here. You can also place it on the right hand side, of course. That's up to you. Figure it out. Feel free to try out your kinds of styling in the page builder, because that's the cool thing about the page builder. You are not limited to what you see in front of you. You can also use different items, such as a box. Within a box, you can try certain things like different kinds of alignment, vertical alignments, certain stretches, etc. And you can do all of this just to get an idea of, well, what you are able to do with the page builder. So we've set the project page title, and well, we have set that in the 2-column setup. And beneath that, I want to show some data. However, I don't want to show it exactly in, well, one entire column. I want to show it in the middle of the page. And to do this, I'm going to use a specific setup that uses 3 columns. So let me show you how this will look. I can grab a data table, and for now we don't have any data, so I'll just drag it into the middle column, click save, so it won't have any data, and I'll drag 2 data columns inside of this table, and I'll just fill it up with fake data. So you can click on it and you can give it a name that says project name, for example, and the second one will be called end date, and the header text will be end date as well, and the header text for the first item will be name. So right now, just imagine that we have some fake, some mock-up data. This is what a user will see when it looks to your page. Well, it seems a bit tight because, well, the column to the left and the column to the right, they use a lot of space. But the main thing that we want to focus on is the item in the middle. So we're going to give that a little more space. And we can do that by changing the column width. So as I said, an entire row in width is 12 wide. Right now, this column uses 4, this column uses 4, and the column in the middle uses 4 as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 points of the left column, we're going to take 2 of the right column, and we're going to give those 2, so we're going to give 4 to the middle column. So as you can see, we got 8 and we got 8. And this makes it so that you have a bit more focus on the middle of the page, but it will never change if it's viewed via a laptop. You can change the way you look at your page by clicking on the buttons to the left bottom. So if you want to know what your page, what your website looks like on a cell phone, on a mobile device, then you can click on the mobile device option. And as you can see, if I click on the column that I used for my title, I'm using 6 wide on every kind of device. So it uses only half of the width of my page. However, the column that I just gave a width of 2 uses a width of 12 when it's viewed via a mobile device. This way you can style it so that it's always nice to look at, because you don't want to make something too small, of course. If you make a title use a width of 2 on a mobile device, let me show it for you, then it will be really small. So that's why we use 12 on a mobile device. And if I'd go back to a tablet device, for example, then it looks a bit more decent. And if we go back to full screen or a laptop device or a laptop, desktop, any of those, then you can see this is what our website would look like. So this is the way you can work with the layout and partials and reuse these things so that you can set up a nice looking page in a faster time than you normally used to. And the last items that I want to add are some functionalities. So let's say in the future, we might want to have a lot of projects, but we also want to be able to quickly delete them. For example, we have a big number of property or of projects, and we don't want all of the projects to be there anymore, for example. So let's add another data table column to our data table, and let's drag in a button to that data table. So over here, and let's just call this button the delete button. So that would be a functionality. And another functionality that I would like would be a breadcrumb trail. So a breadcrumb trail is a quick navigation option that you can have. And we can just implement this in between our components. So let's just say that I want it to be somewhere over here. However, I don't want it to be in the same column as my title. Well, the easy thing is that we can still place this column between our menu and the column that we've placed before. So just drag it in between. And as you can see here, we got a column, and I can put the breadcrumb option in here. And as you can see, you might recognize this from some other websites that you've used this before. You've got some breadcrumb items, and these breadcrumb items are quick navigation items. So we can call this a home page, and we can call this project page. And as you can see, we can click on these items, and these will help us navigate to these items, to these pages in the future. So how you can set these for navigation is something that we will discuss later on as well. This is purely for wireframing functionality, so this is what it will look like. So our page right now is a complete project page. You can navigate to your project page via menu buttons, for example, via your breadcrumb options, and you've got a nice data table that has options such as delete and the possibility to go to a detail view for a project. So that means that you can click on one of these. So this is the first setup of your 2 pages. And there's only one thing left to do, that is give it a bit more style, make it look a bit more decent.